Welcome to today's New England Himss webinar, Hybrid Cloud, How This is Becoming Real in Healthcare, presented by Steve Shim from the New England Himss premier sponsor, Hewlett Packard Enterprise. All lines have been muted upon entry today. Please send all questions via the Q&A feature and we will answer them throughout the session. Steve Shim, an HPE GreenLake Healthcare Executive Strategist, is a long-term health information technology professional and innovator who has served in numerous executive and leadership roles for academically affiliated health systems and integrated health networks. As the Chief Technology Officer for Greenville Health System, he achieved stage 7 adoption levels of the electronic health record and accomplished this on a unique scale to the healthcare industry. His early adoption of the hybrid cloud strategies paved the way for innovative managed service offerings such as EHR as a service. He holds an MBA in Entrepreneurship and Innovation from Clemson University and a BS in Engineering from the University of Central Florida. He has chaired and served the executive advisory boards for the UCF Department of Health Management and Informatics and is a former member of the Health Information Management System Society Executive Institute. He has also co-authored case studies published in Cases on Healthcare Information Technology for Patient Care Management and as an alumni of Computer World Premier 100 IT Leaders Award. Please join me in welcoming Steve today.
Great. Melissa, thanks so much. And thank you to the New England chapter of Himss for the opportunities to speak and be with you today. Let me just confirm, am I coming through loud and clear? I think I am. We tested this a little bit ahead of time.
Yep, you sound perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And then, so thank you for the intro. I'd just like to start off saying that, during this last year, we've gone through a very challenging time in the healthcare industry. And one of the things that, I certainly know coming out of the healthcare provider space, both serving and leading different healthcare institutions, of the level of effort that has gone into supporting our caregivers during these very difficult times. So first, I just want to start out by acknowledging and really express my appreciation for the health IT teams that have served during this time. It's been challenging and we've done some amazing things to really support our institutions and our caregivers during this time. I want to acknowledge that. So in today's session, right, we are going to cover really hybrid cloud and how this is becoming real in healthcare. And this is more so through this 2020 timeframe than ever before. We'll establish a common baseline for what we mean by cloud and hybrid cloud. We'll talk about trends in the industry, both outside and certainly inside the healthcare industry. We'll also touch on use cases and really just, how we are moving forward. So let me first start with, it's always helpful to set a common understanding of what hybrid cloud is, what cloud is, and having a good point of reference. I will say that, again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll try to take on some questions throughout the presentation. I know we are on a tight time schedule, so we'll do that as we can, okay? But I just like to make this interactive as much as possible. So here is the what we typically look at as really the authoritative source of definition for cloud, right? And so I really refer to the National Institute of Standards and Technology for the definition they use for cloud. And the reason I like to start this out this way is because if you ask, different people, even in the IT industry, in the health IT industry, you always get a slightly different definition of cloud. And so I'll always like to refer to the authoritative source. And then I'll tell you this, that, our CEO, Antonio Neri, right, he states that cloud is not a destination, but it is an experience. And that is absolutely true by definition of NIST. If you had to burn it down, what we have is the core attributes of cloud are listed here: on-demand resources, You have pooled resources that you can dip into and use. Also, you have a level of elasticity. You can pretty much use those resources on demand, and then when you're not using them, you return them. And you're measured, and you only pay for what you use. Okay, so if you had to sum it up, into 4 key attributes, this is it. And if you have this experience, you're essentially leveraging a cloud service. Now, what cloud is not defined in this is necessarily, it doesn't say that it has to be, on-site, off-site, or remote, or public or private, right? Any one of these or a combination of these can be a cloud-enabled service. Now, what you hear, especially now, right, as we're going forward through, and emerging from this pandemic, and during the pandemic especially, is the emergence of hybrid cloud strategies. So what is a hybrid cloud strategy? This is really when you leverage 2 or more cloud infrastructures, right? And so they are integrated and bound together, and you're able to work to move workloads between them, okay? And this may be in a proprietary manner, it may be in a open standards method, but you have the level to integrate and distribute workload throughout multiple cloud infrastructures. So that is the definition we'll use for hybrid cloud. Okay, so as we look forward, then what is how is the industry looking at hybrid cloud, and what has happened over the last year? So this is information that is coming from different consultants, auditors, news medias, and companies that are really telling us and sharing with us what's happening. So KPMG, they point out that 56% view cloud as a necessity, and they're focused on that as their strategies going forward. PwC is tracking spending in reference to hybrid cloud adoption levels, and they're saying it's up 37%. And this is certainly being driven not only by what was the challenge of the pandemic, or what is the challenge of the pandemic, but also the fact is that the old ways were just not working, right? And this was really a time for us to pivot and leverage hybrid cloud in a way that where we got the support of our organization, and we're able to change really just a culture of what has been probably prevalent in healthcare for so very long. And then I'll also mention here is that HPE, we have a hybrid cloud offering. It's on-premises cloud, private cloud, and we saw this grow by 80% in 2020. And so again, right in line with all the hybrid cloud offerings and strategies and spend, we certainly saw that reflected as well, with the adoption levels of what we bring to the market, both in and outside of healthcare. And so this is important to know, because in fact that we in healthcare have always perceived, our environments or healthcare industry innovating slower than other industries. And so it's always good to know, right, what other industries are doing, right? Because this sort of gives us ideas how to innovate, but also it tells us what is going to happen going forward, right? Because we're, in general, what other industries are doing, healthcare will follow in the footsteps of that. And so I think the only question now is whether we want to be leading that in the middle of the pack, or in the lagging, in adoption of hybrid cloud. But I think what becomes indisputable is that this is happening. This will evolve in this direction. So, all right. So let's discuss the hybrid cloud journey and the challenges that the healthcare industry is seeing along the way here. So this is a slide that really comes from IDC. It tells us, right, where we are along the journey, not only in just healthcare, but all industries. Okay, And so what we're finding here is that, there has been a first wave of digital transformation that's come in the last decade. And it's really underpinned by, the public cloud, and what developers have done there, and what and the ability for IT operations to innovate in this space. In fact, the speed, the agility, the ability to scale rapidly has all resulted in a very satisfying experience for those who have leveraged the public cloud. But the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of applications that we use, not only in healthcare, but all industries, right, is not cloud enabled, right? There is certainly a subset that was developed and born in the cloud, as they say, right? And then, or has been ported over to the cloud. So all those really have been done. What we're left with at this point is just a number of applications that we, especially in healthcare, are supporting. They are legacy based by and large. They have what we call data gravity issues, which means that applications and client server applications, they need to be in close proximity to each other. They have legacy architectures. There's latency requirements that dictate how they work and how they work to meet the needs of our customers, our patients, our clinicians, our medical staff, as well as there's some compliancy requirements in terms of, especially for the healthcare industry, HIPAA, privacy and security. So those really drive, as a, those type of requirements drive these applications to really be, in our data center, controlled data centers on-prem or in our colos. And that's where the vast majority of what we see, these applications still, reside. So, to take on this challenge, companies like HPE certainly recognize, where the industry should be heading, and how we can help organizations really bridge through this. The fact is that organizations in healthcare, we're now trying to straddle the fence on both sides. We're trying to support this new, innovative, web-enabled and cloud-enabled world, as well as on-premises applications in many ways are tier one applications. But we're doing both. This creates, a challenge for us, right? There's different ways to fund it. In many ways, right? Those are subscription-based, operationally intensive, where we've long been focused on capital expenditures in healthcare. There's siloed operations and tools to be able to support both environments. There's different skill sets to be able to support those. And really, there's a challenge of having visibility of the whole ecosystem when it's deployed, and being able to understand, how it's operating, is it operating efficiently, cost effectively, and the governance associated with that. So we are taking on this type of challenge today within the healthcare industry. But fact is right, the vision is to move forward by really standardizing and normalizing that across the board. From the way that HPE looks at it, we promote, that there should be a standard method for leveraging the cloud experience, in your data center, all the way to the edge, which be, where a lot of information is created in the healthcare environment, in your clinics, through modalities, through imaging systems, as well as to the private cloud and the remote cloud. And so, again, the vision is, we need to be able to operate one way and be able to deliver that across the board. So, so let's take a look at how this is beginning to happen and is happening within the healthcare industry. So really today, the healthcare industry is managing the lion's share of applications data within their colos or on-premises data centers. And this is an example of this is like the Epic electronic health record, or PACS, for instance, right? The majority of those systems and the data associated with those systems are residing, in our colos, in our data centers today. And so many have turned, as options, become available, right? Many have turned to the software vendors to be able to support remote management and remote delivery of the components of the electronic health record. And so we absolutely see this. This is, in many cases, good options for delivering reliable and highly available electronic health record services. But other options are coming forward, right? And so we know that public cloud, which embrace the full suite as defined by NIST of the cloud experience. And we do see organizations leveraging the public cloud to deliver electronic health records. Now, again, these are a certain profile, and it really depends on your risk tolerance, but there's absolutely a level of adoption there that is taking place. So in addition to that, there's private cloud options, right? Again, it embraces the cloud experience as defined by NIST, but this is a level of dedicated resources to your environment, to your tier 1 application. And so this is the more prevalent method of leveraging a cloud environment or cloud offering for your institution in healthcare. Now, what's also is all really prevailing now, and we've seen this really accelerating in the last 2 years, is the option to bring private cloud to on-premises or in your colo into your environment. And so this is bringing the full cloud experience into your premises to where you can now have that single experience, that is defined by, self-service, by pay-for-use, by flexing up and down, and managed by you real time across the board. And it spans all the way, across end to end, from your colo to your environment to the private cloud, and then to some extent, right, to hosted vendors by software providers. Again, that probably is the one that lags a little bit in the total functionality that would be supported. But again, this is really the target experience and how this experience can be really pervasive across your entire enterprise. So this is again, what organizations are now strategically looking at. Their focus on this and the ability to be able to do this is really coming forward now. The one thing I'll say is that it's really organizations like HPE who specialize in the enterprise with on-prem technology to support your tier 1 applications are the ones who are in the position to bring this type of capability on-prem and into your colo. So the technology providers that have been doing this for so very long, who can meet, again, those unique needs, are the ones who are looking at this space and making these offerings now available. And so this is really what has been the change in the industry, right? So before, you could only go remote to public or private clouds, or even to hosted offerings to be able to have this experience. Again, what's changing now is we're bringing this to you in your data center. Okay, so the one thing I do want to mention is you look at this and you say, wow, this is pretty distributed, right? We're now running workloads potentially in many different places. How do we control that, right? And how do we have surveillance on this and ensure that it's running in an appropriate and a cost-effective and secure fashion? And so this is a question that we get very often. And so I'm going to touch on this. And in fact, this is something that is now reported to us from IDC that says, And organizations who have been early on to embrace cloud strategies, hybrid cloud strategies, have run into certain roadblocks. And with those, the biggest challenges have been around efficient use of their cloud assets, as well as controlling cost and data and privacy compliance. And so what I'll share with you is that what's critically important, where we see a number of organizations really not take this into consideration and have complications in adopting a successful cloud strategy, is that what you need is a cloud management control plane. So if you look at NIST, again, I refer to NIST as a very good authoritative standard. They call out that in a cloud architecture, you will need a cloud management control plane. And this control plane helps you have situational awareness over the whole hybrid cloud environment. And so what you see in this slide here is the different aspects of information that you need to manage and have in regard to your hybrid cloud environment. So obviously IT operations in terms of what is being used, how it's being used, when do you need to provision more resources, right? CIOs absolutely to understand the operations and the quality of the delivery, the uptime, and the availability of the systems. There is certainly, stakeholders that you have to be able to serve, right? We in health IT teams are now becoming more of service providers in many ways, right? So we have different teams that we need to support. We have emerging teams in terms of research and machine learning and data scientists now evolving that need support from health IT teams. And especially these CFO and really operational teams really want to know what the spend is, and more now than ever going through the pandemic, right? Everybody wants to be able to have good metrics on what is being used, how it's being used, and really the economic sustainability of that. But what I'll also touch on very quickly here is the legal and compliance, right? Being able to have a way to develop security and privacy policies to be able to deliver those, right? Efficiently and productively across multiple cloud infrastructures is something that is an absolute capability you want to look at and plan on acquiring, because what we've seen is that organizations that can't do this, right, they absolutely have a challenge in being able to secure their environments to an appropriate level. And so, again, what I'm telling you is there is this notion of a cloud management control plane critical to delivery, successful delivery of our hybrid cloud environment. And so that is something I just want to make sure that I touched on, because it is overlooked so many times. Now let's take a look a little bit closer at what we're hearing from the healthcare industry. So I'll share with you some information now in regards to a study that was performed in CHIME. This is a College of Health Information Management Executives, right? And so this study and survey was performed in October of 2020, and these are the results. So I'm just going to share with you a couple, few snapshots of this, but the first is, how CIOs ranked the value of on-premises private cloud for your institution, for your business. And so, again, before the pandemic, what would have been clearly on top, right, and the focus would be to simplify IT as well as to shorten time to deliveries. Certainly two key attributes of cloud enablement. But what also now has emerged, right, during this time of the pandemic, is that total cost of ownership actually took, by a little bit, really the highest priority. And so there absolutely is a focus now on making sure that we're pursuing efficient and economically advantageous ways to acquire technology and deliver technology. And there is a lot of focus now on how to do that, what are options available. And so hybrid cloud, again, really is a chief strategy for that has really got a new focus during the pandemic. In addition to that, we also see that optimized cash flow and cash preservation is also now top of mind. Now, again, this is being driven by finance teams in the healthcare industry to IT to CIOs, and so this is something that we now need to balance, right? We need to balance the successful and reliable delivery of services, electronic health records, as well as managing economic new financial requirements that are coming from really the organization and the finance team, and it's a balancing act, right? And we see that reflected in this survey. The other part I'll just mention is that we also asked the question of how many see on-premises cloud as a viable option to support your tier 1 critical applications within your institution. And so this survey showed it was around 50-50. So what I could tell you about that metric is that as compared to past surveys, this is substantially increased over time. So this is absolutely an improvement in my mind in the score. Recognize that on-premises cloud solutions now are viable to support your tier 1 applications. I'll talk about a real use case here later in the presentation. So lastly, I'll just share that in reference to the survey, we asked who's planning or has planned to leverage and deploy on-premises cloud solutions. And so what we see is the vast majority, right, some greater than 50% are pursuing that and are moving in that direction. Some, a good portion have delivered that and have that in place today, or what they believe to be on-prem private cloud. There is certainly a contingent who is not pursuing that, right? But again, what we see is that is much less today than it has been in the past. Next, I'd like to share a information we received from IDC, and it really identifies the drivers that are the focus of CIOs and healthcare organizations as why you would pursue hybrid cloud enabling or cloud enabling your electronic health record. And so, this is, I find this to be a very succinct and focused list of drivers that resonate certainly with me, okay? And I think if you look through this, this is information that, if you look, this is really a great summary of the drivers and the value proposition of hybrid cloud enabling your electronic health record or your tier 1 applications. And so certainly, there is improved clinical operations, being able to integrate your electronic health record in more advanced ways that are really cloud native capable and moving forward being cloud native capable. There's the level of enterprise standardization that could take place. Again, this is in reference to standardizing the way we support and deliver IT and trying to get away from doing this in multiple ways. I can tell you that this study was pre-pandemic. And so what I think what is typically in here been under enterprise level standardization and the value proposition associated with that as a total cost of ownership improvement, right? What I believe is had this been done during the pandemic or even today, right? That would take a higher level of a driver for hybrid cloud enabling. Compliance is another key piece. What I could tell you is that by and large, cloud enabled offerings, especially enterprise cloud solutions, typically have a much more fortified strategy for security and privacy compliance. And I think that's general throughout the industry. And certainly there's other key aspects, IT modernization, an easier way to be able to keep up with the often very significant requirements of your tier 1 application, be able to access other services to be able to augment your system, be able to be able to leverage business recovery and disaster recovery type solutions that also can help address a more cost-effective business resiliency option. And then certainly there's the ability to innovate, right? And what we see over during this pandemic, right, is we've had the need to innovate and move quickly. And so we've absolutely been able to do that, but we have to be able to do that going forward as well, because we know the impact that this type of disruptive change of the pandemic can have. With the what I also would like to touch on is a perspective of how we innovate with hybrid cloud. And so this is this is another way of looking at it. And so as we mentioned at the beginning, that my background is in innovation through by degree. And so this is a model that I've seen and I've used in the past. This is a model used by a way to categorize innovation. It was a model by Larry Keeley. And it really falls into 3 categories. It is the configuration of the services that you offer, right? The offering itself and what you're providing to in our case, our stakeholders, which would be caregivers. And then lastly, it's the experience of our customers, in our case, our patients. So those are the 3 categories that would be, that we could really draw a model around of how we support our organization. And so when you look at hybrid cloud, this is the area that, if you use this model where it provides innovative value, okay? And so, for in terms of the key areas, it's really around network, taking advantage of trusted partners to be able to deliver our IT services. It's around structure to better control assets and be able to, there's an absolute value proposition, right? To only pay for what you use and not overpay and have assets on the floor depreciating. And so there's also the process. We optimize operations, by leveraging skill sets and expertise where they're most productive, right? So if we can put people in the right place, balance it with a partner, we get the 1 + 1 = 3 type of outcome. Certainly there's product performance value proposition here. Tier 1 apps, that can absolutely experience greater uptime and greater reliability. And there's a product systems type of value proposition to integrate distributed products and services from different cloud-based offerings in a way we have not been able to do that before, especially as an infrastructure as a service offering, platform as a service, and software as a service offering. So, so this is another way to look at how hybrid cloud helps us innovate, within this model, within this framework, and how that applies to what we need to do as a health IT team. So, yeah, I hope you find that helpful and valuable. What I'll touch on next is that we at HPE had engaged a Forrester to perform a study on our customer base who was leveraging, our hybrid cloud offering. And so what we find is that what they report back to us, right, is that there are 4 categories of value and economic impact that they measure. First, and I think the easiest one is the time, right? So the fact is customers, they shorten the time to deploy digital projects by 75% because they have assets, pooled resources available, right? So you don't have to go through the typical, acquisition necessary for, for many projects, for when delivering and when moving through, large enterprise level projects. In addition to that, there's the ability to reduce risk. Certainly, there is. We've talked about the ability to reduce, risk associated with compliance, but also to really rebalance workload in an efficient way, with a trusted partner, also absolutely reduces risk. Cost is another factor. There is the notion that instead of buying technology upfront, and I can tell you that through purchasing cycles, I've done this the same as when I was with healthcare provider organizations, right? We would, because the last thing you'd want to do is be caught without resources to support, critical projects that were either unplanned or poorly planned. And so what happens is, to mitigate that, you buy extra and you have it on standby for those type of events, those type of requirements. But in fact, on average, what ends up is you have a tremendous amount of assets that are on deck, depreciating, burning warranty, and it is a tremendous cost. And when you measure that, right, there's a value proposition to offset that. And then lastly is the control insight, and this is really the productivity that comes with rebalancing, and that is measured, through through Forrester, and again, it's quantified by Forrester. So in the end, right, this may not be intuitive to most to be able to see this type of benefit from a third, so that's why we have a third party to really assess this, and it's not HPE that necessarily says this, but this is Forrester who's measured this. Next thing, I want to just touch on a real life example of how an organization leveraged a hybrid cloud environment to really deliver some remarkable outcomes. So this is Greenville Health Systems. This is the an organization that I was with as in the capacity of Chief Technology Officer. And so, when I joined this organization, they had aspirations to grow and pursue new business models. And this was really around population health, accountable care organizations as well. And to be able to do that, of course, you have to have contiguous space and a large referral region. So this is what the aspirations that the organization had. In addition to that, Greenville Health System, GHS, was building their qualifications through academic affiliations to be recognized as a center of excellence for patient care services. So I can tell you that there was a lot going on at that time. We were in acquisition mode. We actually grew 40% in bed count over my time with GHS, and our team was spread very thin. During that time, we were standardizing on application, and one of them certainly was the electronic health record, Epic as it were in this case. And so, so we were covering just a lot of bases. In fact, we were having trouble meeting the requirements of the organization and all of the demands. It was my engineering team that actually came to me and said, Steve, we understand the mission here, but we will not be able to keep up with this load or be able to satisfy our stakeholders at the current rate we're going. And so we need to do something different. And so we did step back. We looked at how really tier one service providers were operating, and we took a page out of their playbook, so to speak. And we eventually selected a hybrid cloud solution, as it were. It was HPE's GreenLake solution here. So this is the outcome, that we experienced. First, we were having challenges with uptime or reliability of our tier one applications. Certainly, the hybrid cloud and the ability to, again, rebalance and leverage expertise from a trusted partner resulted in unprecedented uptime and reliability. So this is, this is a number of years ago now that this was implemented. To date, knock on wood here, right? This system has not gone down in an unplanned manner. So again, that was mission achieved in being able to, again, fortify the services, that it was reliable and it was, again, available. Second to that, and at the time we did this, it wasn't necessarily a target, but there was absolutely a total cost of ownership reduction. So I'm not sure how many of you are running Epic, but this is really universal to all, especially tier one application providers, right? You will get a, in this case, Epic hardware configuration guide, but you will get guidance from your software vendor on how to, the specifications for hardware and how to deploy technology in support of the system. So in our case, what we found is that, we had defined target performance requirements. It was in terms of latency, response time, error rates. What we found is that we wanted to comply with the specification provided by the software vendor, but in fact, we could hit those target performance requirements leveraging 80% of our resources under normal conditions. Well, the good news for us is we were on a consumption-based agreement, so we only had to pay for 80% of the resources. Now, the reason that there is so much hardware and resources spec'd, by the software vendor is because there are times when you're going to need that. And of course, there are, when you're doing major upgrades or when you're doing acquisitions or mergers or implementing significant workflow changes for your medical staff and clinicians. During these times when you have a level of inefficiency or learning curve, you want to be able to ramp up and provide additional resources to mitigate any issues that may occur during that time frame. And so we did, right? So we were able to avoid risk by ramping up and throwing a tremendous amount of resources to our systems. But then under normal conditions, again, we could settle back to a much lower workload and only pay for what you use. So again, this is a true value proposition and attribute of of hybrid cloud solutions. What I'll tell you is that it helped us, as a team, get out of the data center and be more focused on our customers, our stakeholders, right? And we were able to do some remarkable things. One, we were one of the first to be able to offer, at a Epic enterprise level, which is, so there is, well, at least with the Epic system, right, there's the opportunity to share your electronic health record, with other business partners and institutions. And so if you want to do large hospitals, there is a subset of a program called Enterprise Connect. We were one of the first 12 in the country to be able to become Enterprise Connect accredited and be able to support other organizations. So that was key to our strategy, in reference to population health and being able to grow our referral region and our integrated clinical network. In addition to that, we were also able to support, and pursue Himss Analytics Stage 7. So, absolutely the core foundation of that is your infrastructure. It has to be of a certain caliber before you can go up and be assessed on all the other levels within Stage 7. And so we were able to achieve that. It was it was not only was it accomplished, within our hospitals, but it was accomplished enterprise-wide across our, 8 medical centers, 11 hospitals, and over 200 clinics. Turned out to be the second largest instance in the U.S. What I can tell you is that we would never have been able to do that had we not looked at how we could redistribute and improve the way we were supporting our services to the organization. So, so really the vision, that we promote within, especially HPE, right, is we really buy into and align with the Himss analytics adoption models. So what we promote is, we should standardize, right? And organizations have the ability, and we're well on the road now to standardizing on the cloud experience, both in the on-premises data centers, to the edge, throughout our institutions, as well as into remote cloud, and be able to standardize on that to be able to support really a core set of functionality that we would really call out as part of the NFRAM standards. And so, assuming that the group here is familiar with the NFRAM or the Himss analytics adoption models, it really, from a technology team, it starts there. Okay, and so. And this is again, in what we're able to do, especially with the electronic health record at Greenville Health System. But going upstream, right? What we know is that this is the foundation that really supports other adoption models for different things, not only the electronic health record, but also for imaging adoption, care, maturity models, as well as analytics maturity. So I'll tell you that analytics maturity is one that is kind of key, because it really drives a different infrastructure, than what health information technology teams today are used to providing. So I'll comment on that a little bit more, but just again, this is really the vision, that I think we need to embrace as a health IT industry, as health IT professionals, right? And that let's the opportunity here is to standardize and accelerate. One way to do this, the cloud experience, and then support these models that we know are successful. Just to share information, this is really how HPE helps organizations achieve that. Okay, so this may be a little bit technology centric, but we certainly make available on-prem through private cloud offerings a hybrid cloud strategy, right? We provide compute, storage, networking on a cloud consumption-based basis, right? And offering. And so in addition to that, we go up to the abstraction layer through virtual machines. Most probably are familiar with virtual servers and virtual apps that are supporting your organization. In addition to that, right, what we find is that there's a new level of, driven by the cloud, methods for abstracting resources out of core compute, storage, and networking. It is container-based, and what you find is that really advanced analytics, machine learning, and AI utilities are really built on containers. They're cloud native, and they natively take advantage of containers. So this is something, if you're not familiar with, you should keep an eye on and watch out for, because it's going to be important to the success of health information technology teams. And being able to support this, right, is exactly the challenge that that we articulated at the top of the meeting, right? This is a very different technology. It's very different than what health IT teams are accustomed to providing today. And so this is where you need to intelligently, select a trusted partner to be able to help you support these type of stakeholders, these type of new workloads that are becoming absolutely strategic to the organization. Certainly, traditional advanced infrastructure as a service offerings, we offer in the catalog, data protection, data integrity, backup is also a part of that. And then lastly, in response to the industry, we are going up even further in the stack in integrating services, services with technology in ways that are in demand by the industry. So for instance, we do offer today an Epic platform as a service where it is managed Epic software on HPE provided infrastructure in your data center, right? So it is an integrated solution that includes highly qualified Epic certified resources managing a infrastructure that is in high confidence level for Epic, for instance. Not only Epic, but this goes across other systems as well. So, but again, it's our effort to improve, continuously improve the offering in response to what we see as demand coming from the healthcare industry. So that in large concludes my presentation. What I'll say is that fact is that again, health IT teams through the pandemic have done a wonderful job in pivoting and delivering very quickly services that were just became in high demand during the pandemic. And this is telehealth services, this is remote working solutions, as well as digital front doors, to help really enable this whole remote environment. What really is the focus going forward is, now that we understand that we can be that agile, in the healthcare environment, right? And I would just, assert that really it's the culture of healthcare that has prevented that in the past, because the technology has been available. But now that we're used to it, we have a taste of that, right? Really the challenge is how to maintain that agility, how to be able to continue to move that fast in an economically sustainable way. And what I can tell you is that the industry, especially CFOs, recognize that hybrid cloud is a key component to being able to sustain that. So with that concludes my presentation. So I appreciate, again, the opportunity. I hope that came across well. And with that, I think we can open it up for if there's any questions here towards the end. So Alyssa and Laura.
Yep. So I have the Q&A open. I don't have any questions, but I'll give everyone a few minutes. And while we're wrapping up here, if they have any questions to ask you live, Steve. Meanwhile, I want to thank you for taking the time, and thank you to HPE for presenting to the New England Himss membership today. And the CP Himss credit, along with the copy of his presentation, will be sent to the registered attendees, and it does have Steve's contact information if you do have any questions that you do think after the session. And as you exit today, if you'll take a moment to give us feedback on today's session and any suggestions for any upcoming webinars you would like to see New England Himss host. I don't have any questions in the chat or the Q&A, Steve, right now. I do thank you again for joining us today, and thank you to Laura for coordinating the efforts, and I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Everybody take care.
Thank you.